26th of September 2023. This is, of course, a Warrafak moment again. As I've said it previously, I'm surrounded by Warrafak moments. And the thing that is really interesting is to see the many references to Section 235 all of a sudden. It is as if someone, by some great mystery, explored our Constitution right through to the end, and in the last section they find this mystery, Section 235. Now, what I want you to do is listen very carefully to Briekmerke, absolutely destroying this woke XXX talking head. Listen carefully.
But it is implied in what you are saying that because of...
Are you saying that if I say an Arab is different to a German, it's racist? Are you saying that when I say that a Zulu is different to a Chinese person, that it's racist? They're just different, but it's not racist.
No.
They're all equal people with different cultures.
And understandable, but the fact is that because of your differences, you want to stand apart. You are looking for self-determination for those people that are different. There appears to be. So I suppose that's why we are speaking to you, so you can give us clarity on that issue.
That's right. I want you to ask me the question and not tell me what I intend doing or what the parties intend doing. Ask me. I said it in Parliament. The ANC, at the negotiations, agreed to many clauses in the Constitution giving people the right to self-determination. Not me, not the ANC. Joe Slovo, Mandela, Ramaphosa, Mbeki wrote Article 235 in the Constitution at the insistence of the Freedom Front, saying that any people sharing a common culture, language and faith within a given geographic territory has the right to self-determination. That's the law. The ANC also underwrote many charters on human rights that says people have a right to self-determination. On the 10th December 1998, sir, South Africa ratified the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which states inter alia, all peoples have the right to self-determination. On the 12th January 2015, South Africa ratified the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. Self-determination comes in various forms, and the ANC has on every international convention attached their signature to the right of any minority to seek self-independence.
Mr. Murray.
The ANC even backs Yasser Arafat and the Palestinians. He backs them that they want self-determination. So what's the problem?
Now, you must agree, Peter floored that presenter properly. But there's a reality in what is being discussed here. And that is the reality that people, communities, tribes, cultural groupings are entitled to some form of self-determination, and most of all, respect for their culture. Now, right across the globe, we can see there's a new awakening to cultural realities. We see it everywhere. The problem is, that goes directly against XXX's plans. They can never allow that, because that will destroy their grip on the world overnight. Now, here in South Africa, we're sitting with a tough situation. Let me put it like that. The reality of South Africa is simply this. We are a nation of ethnic differences. We live in official languages should already tell you that we've got a conglomeration of cultures and mix here in South Africa. And the ANC is aware, I'm sure they're aware of the rumblings and mutterings on grassroots level, but they're in denial about that. Or maybe they're not in denial, maybe Triple X has told them clearly, if you acknowledge that, you're gone. Which I think is the more realistic one. Now for the Afrikaners, and specifically the Boer tribe, that is so fixated on independence, I suggest that you take the time and go and look what is happening in Armenia and Azerbaijan, in that Nagorno-Karabakh region now. It is a fiasco. And the reason why I say take a look at that is because that is a very close resemblance to the potential issues in South Africa if this Volksstaat idea is enforced in some way. The reality is that over the weekend I had a look at an art in a show that Morning Shot did, and they visited KwaZulu-Natal in Northern Natal. Now what I must give them, really, I must give those guys points. They're the only guys that I know of that had a decent interview with a representative from the Russian embassy in South Africa. And here they go and do a little program about KwaZulu-Natal. And what astounds me is that the similarity between what's happening in KwaZulu-Natal and what's happening in Orania is mind-blowing, to say the least. Same thing, basically the same thing. But Orania is forever under attack. In KwaZulu-Natal, they live in peace, in prosperity. You must go and investigate, do research on KwaZulu-Natal. Yes, the primary, I want to call controlling thing there is Christianity. But leave that aside. That's your choice whether you like that type of thing or not. The fact of the matter is they're making that work, and it's working very well. And during the KwaZulu riots and so forth, nothing happened there, because that community would have slaughtered anybody that came in there and tried to destroy something there. So the fact of the matter is, we are a very diverse population. But we all need one another. We need one another. People say Zululand must go independent. The people with brains in the Zulu nation know that they cannot take the Ngonyama Trust and go independent, because it is patchwork, and the chances of a thing being economically successful is slim. So they want a unified section of Natal to go independent, which makes 100% sense. And that brings me to this, that maybe breaking the Republic up into the existing 9 provinces is a good start to get rid of this cabal-controlled central government, because that central government is a major issue for all of us. And I had a discussion with a guy this morning, and he said to me, okay, what do you think is the most important factors that gives fuel to this internal strife? And I said, look, for me, I would say, let's say I become a president tomorrow morning. What is the first thing that I'll do? I become the president of this unitary state. What is the first thing I'll do? First thing I'll do is to say that every South African is entitled to his rights to be protected in South Africa. Everyone. Second thing, scrap all affirmative action and BEE. All of it. Scrap it. Third thing, tell the politicians that if they stand on a stage and they make racist remarks, doesn't matter towards which race, because I see now Fakile is now onto the Pakistanis. And I'll say, you stand on a stage and you make racist utterances, you will be shot before sundown. I'll play you a recording of what you said and then shoot you, execute you. That's what I'll do. And I think that the biggest problem for the white people, the Afrikaner race specifically, for the Afrikaners, is the fact that we are denied a right of existence in this country, which is total bullshit. But we are denied that. That is a major inflammatory component, which makes all these underlying strife and fights and conflicts is fueled by that. Now, Section 235 makes provision for me to be independent. But the practical execution of that independence is going to be a massive problem. So the alternative is work together. The tribes need to work together. I had a discussion with a guy about the tribe thing. And he said to me that, listen, the tribe thing makes 100% sense. But we must understand that tribes don't only form around culture. Tribes can form around a communal need. And he made the example and said, look at a typical suburb. That suburb comprises of a lot of ethnic groups, but all of them has got a communal need to protect their assets. And that binds them together to face threats. And we saw that happening in Natal with the riots there. Communities stood together and protected their own. So I think that this Section 235 is now becoming a hot topic, and it is good, and we must push it. And there's a lot of people, a lot of South Africans that are totally unaware of Section 235. My view is that it was left too late. 235 should have been brought into play in 1994 already. Now, 30 years later, the demographics has changed, and it's going to be a hell of a difficult thing to say, okay, this area is now Boer area. They're not going to be the majority. What are they going to do with all the people in there? Will those people be willing to move freely? Then the other thing is that we have to take into consideration is that XXX has bred a brigade of soldiers for them, the Sasa Brigade. And they are about 20-25 million. People, most of them, have got no cultural bonds. Zero. They don't even know who their tribe is. Most of them don't even know who their own father is. But they want to come and talk shit about their grandfathers and their forefathers. They don't know their own father, but they want to talk about their forefathers. It's ridiculous. They've been bred for a purpose. So, say for instance, an area is then given to the Afrikaners. Say, right, there's your volksstaat. And the next morning, 2 or 3 million Sasa soldiers stream into that area. How the fuck are you going to stop that? How? Tell me. Yeah, there's now guys with lots of dreams about guns and ammunition and all that cock, and they can shoot this well, and they can pull down a kudu on 600 meters and crap like that. Yeah, they're going to say it. 2 million people streaming into an area with 10 million or 10,000 or 5,000 people, white people are living. It's over. It's game over. So we need the leadership, and this is something that you must take, and the white people, and the Afrikaners and the Buddhists specifically must take note of what I'm saying now. You can go to tribal Zululand, and you can basically ask any person walking around there, who's your leader? And they will tell you who their leader is. And that leader is clearly identified. Yeah, many of those traditional leaders are corrupted by XXX, but these people know who their leaders are. You ask a Boer, who's your leader? And he'll give you a name. And you ask his neighbor, and he'll give you another name. And you ask 50, and you've got 50 names. That's a reality. So, I think it's time that sanity comes to the table and sit down and accept realities. And the reality is South Africa is made up of a lot of ethnic groups and a lot of cultural groups. And we need to find a way for all of these to work together. They need to work together. Because if they don't work together, none of them will survive. That's the first thing. The second thing is we have to get rid of this ANC cabal. That thing must go. Because that thing represents no tribe. That thing represents XXX. And they're tools in the hands of XXX. And they've got major problems as we sit here. Major issues. They're running out of money. And that is making them do stupid things. Like now Cyril with his shit in New York. I asked the guy last night, I said to you, what do you think is the WhatsApp that is flying between Xi Jinping and Putin about Cyril's shit in New York? The fact of the matter is, the BRICS bloc cannot and will not surrender control over the Cape Sea route. And that can be the spark that lights a Ukraine type of war on South African soil between the West and BRICS. That's the reality. It can only be avoided if the tribes take control, get rid of the politicians, and look at what we have. And now there's a lot of guys that's going to differ from me and they're going to swear at me. Our future is in BRICS. That's the future. The West is done. The West is done. But it will take time for the average white citizen to make peace with the fact that the West is done. The biggest problem is XXX is completely entrenched themselves as the controllers of the West. And they've got full control over the South African. And that is what we need to break. That is what you must think about when you go and vote. Maybe we are lucky and we see a coup before election time. I personally think that the circumstances is squaring up for a coup. That's what I think, because the central government has lost control over the country. They don't have physical control over the country. They've got some administrative control over the country, but no longer physical control. And they've lost that control. And they're only in control of those things that XXX allow them to think about that. Please give me a like and a subscribe and share the thing. Thank you for your support.